Welcome to the Good Food Podcast with me, Samuel Goldsmith. Today on the Good Food Podcast, I am joined by Gurd Loyal, a culinary innovator known for blending bold flavours with storytelling. From transforming traditional dishes to experimenting with new flavours, Gurd has been redefining what it means to cook with creativity and conscience. Whether it's in the kitchen, on the page, or inspiring the next generation, Gurd brings passion, precision, and a dash of unpredictability to everything he does. Welcome to the Good Food Podcast, Gurd.
What a lovely introduction. Thanks so much.
Well, it's easy to write, isn't it,
you flatterer.
What did you have for dinner last night?
Last night, I had the classic dinner of dinners, pasta and pesto.
Oh.
You can't beat pasta and pesto.
I love that. What pesto?
I did make my own pesto.
Oh, good, yeah, as one would expect.
It was like quite a sort of spring onion and sagey pesto,
Ooh,
which was quite good.
nice.
And then I topped it with just like crispy onions, pistachio. You just can't beat pasta and pesto sometimes. It is a classic.
Spring onion and sage, yeah, I've never heard of that, you know. I think that's very you, though.
It is very. Do you know what? It was one of those sort of fridge-raid pesto things. I didn't really have enough basil. I had loads of sage, and there was loads of spring onions.
Nice.
And I just figured I didn't have any garlic,
Oh.
so it was just getting the alliuminess in.
And do you don't cook the sage first?
I didn't,
No.
but then I sort of sizzled off the pesto a little bit
Okay, yeah.
in some oil before I put the pasta through. So
Because I was worried it might be too
no,
harsh.
it wasn't too. Yeah, I get that sage can be
Yeah.
a bit sort of
Woody, though, maybe.
yeah,
more
maybe
than-
leafy. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Well, you're here for a couple of reasons. One, we're going to talk about your new book.
Yes,
And two, we're going to talk about trends for 2026.
absolutely.
Because it's the day before New Year's Eve.
2026, it's almost here. Wow.
So your new book, Flavour Heroes, tell us about it.
Flavour Heroes. So this is a book that celebrates the modern pantry. And in particular, I suppose 15 ingredients that I think can just absolutely transform your cooking.
Nice.
I think the pantry is this kind of incredible snapshot of sort of society in a way, and kind of where we are in kind of the food world. And it was really interesting when I started thinking about the book and the ingredients I wanted to hero, I kind of looked back at loads of different books from the past. So I looked at loads of Delia books.
Nice.
I looked at Fanny Craddock books. I looked at loads of Nigella books. I actually went all the way back to Mrs. Beeton. And
Really? Wow.
I did this thing where I sort of went, what were the pantry staples or the kind of pantry superheroes that each of them were talking about? And it was really interesting because they were sort of the sorts of things you'd expect. So Fanny Craddock was talking about things like crystallized ginger and angelica and things like that. And then Delia Smith did this whole thing in the 80s where she was talking about ready grated Gruyere and Hartley's lime jelly cubes randomly. And she was talking about like pre-chopped onions, and these were the pantry. And then Nigella's always talking about things like Worcester sauce and
maple syrup.
maple syrup, exactly. So for me, I wanted to I didn't want to sort of, this is, I think, an idea that food writers have been talking about for years and years and years, is leaning into a pantry. And so for me, I wanted to do a book that I felt reflected the modern pantry of today, and actually just to give people really interesting ingredients that they may or may not kind of have in their pantries, and then to give them really expansive ways of using them. And my whole thing is getting people to think outside of the box with ingredients and not feeling confined in any way by the way that they use them. So there's 15 ingredients and about 100 different ways of using them.
And how did you choose the 15?
That was a fun game. So I started off by genuinely looking at my pantry and going, what do I use all the time? So peanut butter, dark roasted peanut butter in particular. I'm constantly replacing it. Tamarind, because one of my favourite Punjabi chutneys is imli, which is a tamarind chutney. I make it all the time. I slather it on absolutely everything. So for me, tamarind was a kind of obvious one. Another one, because I absolutely love it, is endiya. I really love it. It's a real flavour powerhouse. And then I asked friends about things that they had in their pantries that they didn't know what to do with. And it was interesting because a lot of my friends said, you know what, I buy harissa all the time, and unless I'm making a Middle Eastern or an Oslengi recipe, I've kind of got it sitting in the pantry. I don't know what to do with it. And really interesting one actually was toasted sesame oil.
That's so true.
Because so many people, I mean, you buy it and people only ever think to use 1 or 2 tablespoons, teaspoons at the most. And really only in a stir fry
that's
or
what I
in
was
kind of
thinking when you
Asian
said it.
food. But if you think about toasted sesame oil, it's basically just really intense, concentrated sesame flavour.
Yeah.
So you can use it as a flavouring. So for me, it was a mix of things that I love, things that people or friends of mine said that they had in their pantries and they sort of were like, I've got this and I don't use it apart from this. And then there were one or two other ingredients that I think are a real reflection of kind of wonderful, global, intercultural flavorness today. So yuzu kosho is one of them, which is this incredible Japanese sort of fermented chili and yuzu peel paste. It's really delicious. It's really sort of tangy, chilled and citrusy and salty, which I just love.
Yeah.
And then another one, which is actually, no, it's been around forever. I mean, as have all of these ingredients, but not many people use it that much, is Calabrian chili paste, which is made with those Calabrian, I think they're called Diavoletta Rosa. Yes. Oh, it's delicious. Yeah. And then, other ingredients which have now just become part of our pantry, which even maybe 5 or 10 years ago wouldn't have been, like miso and gochujang, which now everyone's just so wonderfully inventive with. And again, I wanted to kind of celebrate these ingredients and go, look, isn't this an amazing snapshot of where we are right now, kind of in the food world? And it's interesting because some of these ingredients, even 5 or 6 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to get in a supermarket. And now I think
true. Everyone kind of will at least have, I imagine, 5 or 6 of them, if not 10 or 12.
Absolutely. I'll be able to find them. And also, some of these ingredients you can only get in specialist delis at the moment. But that was the same as things like harissa and gochujang about a few years ago.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of wanted to kind of introduce some of these ingredients. So it was a really fun process. And I mean, there was 100 on the list.
Was there really?
And I had to get down and down and down and down. My publisher wants for 12 and I pushed them to allow me to have 15. But yeah, it was a really fun process.
I guess as well, because there's bound to be ingredients that you do actually use a lot and other people use a lot, but in a way it's kind of not necessary because there's probably already lots of recipes for them. Whereas what you're trying to do is get people to use up those ingredients that, like you said, they've got a little, they've got some recipes they might use it for, but actually think outside of that. And
well, this is the thing. So one of my things is getting people to think expansively, and there's a couple of ways that I do that. One of them is I get people to think about the flavor characteristics of ingredients. So for example, if you think about miso, if someone said to you, miso is fermented rice or soy with koji, you might be like, well, what does that mean? But if someone said to you, miso is kind of savory and creamy and it's a little bit salty and it's umami and it's got lovely depth and it's sweet and it's savory, suddenly the world of miso just comes alive for you. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do with the book, was to kind of empower home cooks, I suppose, by not worrying too much about what an ingredient is, and also actually not worrying too much about the cultures that it's primarily linked to, but thinking expansively about the kind of flavor universe of all of these ingredients. One of the ones that surprises people sometimes is mango chutney, which I absolutely love. And if you think about mango chutney, it's kind of tropical and vinegary and sugary and tangy and lemony and spicy, all these amazing flavors. But people rarely use it as an ingredient.
Yeah, we just put it on our popcorn.
You just put it on your popcorn. So, or you might put it in a sandwich at Christmas.
Yeah, or mix it in a curry.
Exactly. So for me, for example, I've got like a chicken schnitzel where the chicken is first kind of marinated in the mango chutney, which gives you this lovely tropical kind of undercurrent. I've got a savory tarte tatin, which is root vegetables, but I've got a kind of roasted garlic and mango chutney glaze over the top. So it's all about, for me, getting people to think expansively, but also not worry about how an ingredient is habitually used, but kind of go, well, wow, look at all the ways I can use all these ingredients in my pantry. And in some ways, it's a kind of no waste approach, really, because I hate the thought of these pantry ingredients kind of sitting on a pantry and not being used. They're like crying out to be used.
And I think that's good, because the one that the toasted sesame oil for me, I mean, I probably got like 3 bottles of it.
I bet.
Where I forget that I bought it, so I buy another bottle.
Exactly.
And then I think, oh, what can I do that with other than a stir
this is the
fry
thing.
Or drizzle on top or something?
So for me, if you think about toasted sesame oil, it's just really intense sesame flavor. So like one of the recipes I've got in the book, which sort of surprised a lot of people, is I've got a salted sesame Basque cheesecake.
Yes.
Which is basically a delicious, creamy Basque cheesecake, but amplified with the flavour of toasted sesame oil.
That's such a good idea.
So there are so many different ways that you can use all of these ingredients, and I just wanted to inspire people. And in some ways, I love it when people cook from the book and do cook the recipes from it. I love it even more when people go, you know what, inspired by this book, I've added this to this. Nice. And I love it. When people message me to say, I added a bit of miso to my curry, or I added a little bit of I added a bit of this vinegar to this, and I added a bit of this to this. That for me is kind of the essence of the book playing out wholly, and I love it when that happens.
And I guess it's, you're getting them to think, that ingredient tastes like this.
Yes.
Maybe I don't have this,
but
that's okay.
But I could use this, exactly.
Yeah. So I do think we get a bit worried about using ingredients from other cultures, that it's almost like we're wrong to do so. But I mean,
ingredients of the world have been traveling for as long as people have been traveling. And also, an ingredient, for example, like tamarind, is attached to so many different cultures of the world. It's attached to Indian culture, to Thai culture, to Vietnamese culture, to Filipino culture, to South American cultures, even Spanish cultures, use tamarind. So it's this. For me, I wanted to kind of celebrate the sort of expansiveness of these ingredients. And yes, they absolutely might be rooted to one culture. And it is really important to understand the rooting of a culture that an ingredient might be attached to, but also know that those roots aren't fixed. And actually the ingredients travel and they morph and they evolve and they intermingle. And for me, it's when cultures come together that you sometimes get the most extraordinary flavor combinations that you otherwise wouldn't have thought of. So I want to liberate people, absolutely. And actually one of the ways that you can kind of get around that is by supporting local diasporic stores. So, if you're worried about, am I taking the ingredients from a culture? Well, go into a Turkish deli, go into an Indian supermarket, go into an Asian supermarket, buy your ingredients there, and then you're genuinely supporting the cultures that those ingredients are coming from.
And I even think of of mixed heritage families.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to not use an ingredient.
Yeah.
Or the husband's cooking. The partner's not going to be like, I better not. I don't want them putting that in because that's my English mustard, not my. Yeah, I just think.
And for me, third culture cooking, which is something that I'm all about. And third culture, for people that don't know, is this idea of when you're from one culture, and for me being Indian Punjabi, but you're born into another. I was born in Leicester, the home of Walker's Crisps. So for me, my cooking is inherently third culture. It is this mix of Britishness and Indianness, but because of what I do for a living, I've been fortunate enough to travel the world in pursuit of food. And all of those influences have kind of come into my way of cooking. So, this third culture sort of mentality around cooking is about the joy of bringing together things from different cultures and actually celebrating the deliciousness of that.
Nice. And then thinking, because I said I want to talk about trends, and I feel like that is something the book kind of does in a way, not talk about, but it leans into.
Yeah.
Because you've been part of sort of trend setting, if you like, for years.
Quite a long time,
How did you get into it?
How did I get into it? So, I've worked in the food industry for over 20 years now. I started my food career at Innocent Drinks.
Nice.
When it was just a very small startup company in a warehouse in Shepherd's Bush, not far from where we are.
Woolly hats.
The little woolly hats, all sorts of stuff. So that was really interesting because I was in the marketing team there, and it was a really pioneering company. And actually what they did was they transformed the way that brands spoke to consumers. And that was very pioneering and trend-setting at the time. And they put all sorts of things like, new ingredients, things like goji berries and acai, which no one had ever heard of. And actually Innocent was an absolute pioneer on that. So it kind of, I suppose, was the foundation of my kind of love of trends. I then worked at Harrods for about 7 or 8 years, where I was the head of marketing for food, restaurants and wine. And that was probably the most extraordinary job I'll ever have because I got to travel the world eating the most exquisite food that there is. So, whether it was a fine cheese, a really delicious wine, a cognac, visiting all the patisserie chefs in Paris and, whatever it might be, and going to New York and Japan and all these places. And then I was at M&S. And at M&S, my job was actually, I was head of food trends in product development team. So my job, again, was to travel the world and try and predict what I thought the British nation would want to eat in 5 years' time. Wow.
And that's where I think I first met you.
That's when I think we first encountered each other.
I don't think we really talked very much, but that was at the Attitude Awards.
Probably, yes.
That were, very drunken.
That was very fun.
It was very star-studded.
It was. I remember being. I remember sort of sitting on a table for a little while with Christopher Biggins and Joan Collins.
Yeah,
It was kind of mad.
I touched Joan Collins on the shoulder because I used to teach her granddaughter.
Right, okay.
And Julian Clary told me off.
Yes, well, there
And
you
then
go.
I spoke to Cheryl Cole.
Yeah,
And
it
Sam
was
Smith.
very
It was so
Star-Studded.
weird.
It
so
was
weird.
quite mad.
Anyway, so you move from there to...
And then that was just before COVID, which is when I shifted my attention to becoming a food writer. So I always did a lot of food writing in the marketing stuff and the product development stuff I did. But I sort of I had so much to say about food. So that's when my first book, Mother Tongue, came out, which was...
Award-winning.
Award-winning. I won the Jane Grigson Award for that, which was... I started writing it in 2020. So that fun year of 2020. And it came out in 2023. And since then, I've been a food writer. So I'm a regular columnist on for Olive, which is Sister Magazine. I write for lots of other kind of interesting places. And for me, it's about the intersection of kind of food, culture, diasporic identity, and kind of traveling flavour. Nice. And where all these things kind of meet is where I get really, really excited.
And then going back to the trend job, how do you choose? Yeah, because sometimes people ask me like, what's going to be the big ingredient, and I just make it up, or I just make it up.
Yeah, fair enough. And this is the thing, it's definitely an art, but it's an art that you can be quite methodical with. So it's certainly not a science, but for me, the way that I approach trends is to be constantly thinking about what is kind of happening in the ether of the food world. And to do that, you have to almost have your antennae up all the time. And I'm constantly just observing and looking and tasting and watching. I'm kind of this sort of voyeur that's always watching in a way. So, whether that's looking at a restaurant menu and being like, oh, that's interesting, what ingredients they're using, whether that's looking at what pop-ups are coming around, what brands are, going down a supermarket and going down every single aisle to see what's new, reading all of the magazines, looking at the travel destinations that people are going to. For me, all of these things are interconnected.
That makes sense.
That's the first thing that I'm kind of doing, is basically constantly filling my head and spreadsheets with just information. And then it's about sort of trying to almost create patterns from that. So think of it in some ways as if you're sort of throwing up stars into the air the whole time. And then at some point you take a step back and you go, okay, well, what constellations can we make with these stars? And that is sort of the sort of slightly methodical approach to kind of trends. So for me, I'll then kind of go, well, you know what? I've seen this ingredient popping up in 4 or 5 different places. It must be something that's starting to get onto people's radar. Or it could be that, there's a certain cuisine where I'm like, oh, this cuisine is doing something in London, but it's also doing something in New York, and there's a book coming out in Philadelphia and in Paris. So that must be a kind of thing. So
you've really got to think globally.
It's a real global thing. But also, food is not isolated to just food. So, food is increasingly intersected with the world of beauty. It's intersected with the world of homeware. It's hugely intersected with the world of health and wellness and fitness. It's hugely intersected with the world of farming. So you kind of have to be correlating all of these different things. So people sort of say, if you want to get into food trends, people sort of say, what's my best advice to people that want to get into it? I always say, you have to be someone that is always interested in everything. And if you're not always interested in everything, trends is probably not for you. But if you are someone that is always interested in everything, that's kind of what trends is.
That makes sense, because when we were coming up in the lift, you were like, oh, I just heard some gossip. What's that? What's going on? I was like, oh.
Yes, obvious gossip. I'm hugely interested.
You probably know more than me. But actually, it's interesting you say that as well, because I think of cherries, for example, this year, they were on T-shirts that was in beauty products. It was like in the flavours it felt like flavours in the magazines and things.
Absolutely.
Cherry was really coming through.
Absolutely.
And what are because you've written a big trends report for Olive, say our sister brand. What are your thoughts for 2026? What do you think is going to be the big flavour trends?
The big flavour trends. So I've got a couple of cuisines that I'm really interested in, and then sort of flavour. Should we go on flavours first?
Yeah, let's do flavours. As your book's flavour heroes.
Yeah, flavour heroes.
Pick the flavour heroes.
So I've got a couple. So one of them is XO sauce. So XO sauce, if you don't know about it, is this sort of very, very umami sauce from Hong Kong. It kind of is a mix of sort of shrimp and shellfish and ham and chili and garlic and oil. It's like a very amped up kind of umami chili paste from Hong Kong. I'm predicting huge things. It's on all of the restaurant menus. Loads of food writers are writing about it. Lots of people are cooking from it. I think next year is going to be the year of XO sauce. Another one, which is one of the ingredients in my book, which we talked about briefly, is maple syrup. It's popping up everywhere.
Coming back again.
It's really coming back. And what's interesting about maple syrup is there are different degradations of it. So it's the dark maple syrup and also the very dark maple syrup. So what the difference is that the dark and the very dark is at the very, very, very end of the season.
Okay.
It's almost the last syrup that kind of gets tapped from the trees. And so it almost has this treacly flavour.
Yeah, like molasses. Is it?
Really molassesy. But maple syrup is popping up kind of everywhere. Another one which is quite interesting is very understated and almost unexpected, but it's grape.
Oh.
Grape in particular. So lots of chefs, people like Ravneet Gill in particular, are using grape, like Frigola grapes, baked grapes and savoury dishes, grape soft serve, grape syrup.
That is interesting.
All sorts of stuff. Lots of Greek and Turkish cuisine uses that. Have you ever used a grape molasses?
No.
Oh, it's absolutely delicious. Think pomegranate molasses, but grapey.
Wow.
And it's the most delicious ingredient.
Is it winey or not?
No, it's not winey. It's very, very sweet. And it just has it's almost like the most intense essence of raisin.
Wow.
And you can use it in the same way that you would use pomegranate molasses. So if you just had some feta and you just drizzled some grape molasses over it, honestly, the most delicious.
It's almost like we're taking things that we've loved before.
Yes.
But we're looking at them in a deeper level.
Absolutely. Another one that I'm predicting, which is because there seems to be this explosion of the Japanese pantry. There's this incredible book recently that was released by Amiko Davies, which was wonderful. Yeah. And it is Hijicha, which is toasted green tea.
Ooh.
So it's kind of got this lovely nutty, tea sort of toasty flavour. And you get it a lot in Japanese pastries. It's used a lot in kind of Japanese creams. Japanese desserts, like Japanese custards, often have hijicha through them. I think it's going to be one of the ingredients.
Do you drink it as well? Or?
I think you can drink it, absolutely. I think it's used maybe quite a bit more as a flavouring because it is the toasted green tea.
Yeah. I went to a lunch at Gurd, the Le Cordon Bleu restaurant. And it was temple food from Korea.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure they used it there.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It's really delicious.
Yeah.
It's super delicious. One last one that I'm really quite excited about, which is something called kokum. Have you ever used kokum?
I recognise the name, but I don't
Kokum is incredible. It is a souring agent from sort of Southeast Asia and South Asia. So it's a dried mangosteen. And it's very similar to tamarind, but it's a lot more tropical and a lot more fruity. It's used a lot in South Indian cooking. It's used a lot in Sri Lankan cooking. And I'm starting to see kokum a lot more on the menu. Interestingly, Dishoom at the moment have a Goan curry on their menu, which is soured with kokum.
Oh.
So this is what I'm sort of talking about when I'm kind of thinking about how do I come up with sort of these ingredients. It is about the fact where I start seeing things that interesting restaurants like, Rambutan in Paradise in London, who are incredible Sri Lankan restaurants, all cook with kokum. But when I see that suddenly cross over into the mainstream on a Dishoom menu, that's when, for me, things go from kind of being these sort of niche trends that are kind of, that pioneers are doing into things that cross over into the mainstream.
So we did flavour trends. How about cuisine trends?
The three that I'm predicting to be the hot cuisines of 2026. The first is Cambodian food. The second is Egyptian food. Ooh. And the third is Asian Tex-Mex remixes. So the first one of these is Cambodian food. So Cambodian food is having a real moment. There's this incredible pop-up in Soho called Mama Pen. One of the most exciting restaurants in San Francisco at the moment is called Lunette, which is a Cambodian restaurant. I was in Philly earlier this year, and the one restaurant that I just could not get into, even though I was there for a week, is this Cambodian noodle bar called Morn. Wow. And there's this new Cambodian cookbook that's just come out called My Cambodia. It's a really exciting cuisine that I'm predicting is going to have a real moment next year. So Cambodian cuisine is incredible because it's sort of this mix of Thai and Vietnamese. It's got lots of Chinese influence into it. But what's really unique about it is the spices that go into it. So it's got a lot of lime leaf, it's got a lot of lemongrass, it's got lots of herbs, but the spices in particular. So it's got kampok hot pepper, which is very, very Cambodian. Lots of star anise, lots of cinnamon, and it's kind of the use of all these things, and lots of vinegar as well, actually.
Fab.
And that's what kind of makes Cambodian food really unique in terms of those Southeast Asian cuisines.
Great.
My next one is Egyptian cuisine. There's an incredible married couple called Middle Eats. I don't know if you know of them. They're incredible on YouTube. And they really champion Egyptian food. And Egyptian food is interesting because it's sort of this really specific Middle Eastern cuisine that has its own identity in lots of different ways. And I think what's exciting is we're starting to see people break down that granularity. And instead of going, well, Middle Eastern cuisine, generically, people are going, well, there's so much within that, and actually I want that granularity. And for me, Egyptian food is one that I think I'm really excited about. It's a cuisine that sort of uses a lot of vinegar. It's very bread based. It has lots of incredible dishes that use kind of lots of vinegar and herbs and garlic. One of the things I think that's really unique about it is that Egyptian falafel is not made with chickpeas. It's made with fava beans. So it's much lighter, it's much fluffier. So I'm really excited about kind of Egyptian cuisine specifically, having a moment.
My understanding of Egyptian cuisine as well is that they do have quite a lot of other cuisines within it.
Yes.
So I think Sohar Darwish, who we've had on
She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant,
And I went around hers for dinner once, and I was like, oh, this is almost like Italian. And she's like, yeah, well, it's just formed part of our culture. Yeah.
Because like kashari, which is the sort of the Egyptian national dish, has kind of all this mix of different things in it. It's kind of got bits of pasta and lentils and noodles, and then it's got this lovely sauce, and then this lovely kind of ducky put on top. So yeah, Egyptian I'm really excited about. And then Asian Tex-Mex remixes I'm really excited
Sounds
about.
like an album.
It really does. So you know what? One thing that got me really excited about this was a mutual friend of ours, Felicity Cloak's book.
Oh, yeah.
So she wrote this incredible book, Peach Street to Lobster Lane, which was... she went around America on a bike and really investigated the cuisines that make up America. And one of them that she came across was very specifically Taiwanese Tex-Mex in San Antonio.
Yes.
And it's something that I've been kind of looking into, but this seems to be something that's really resonating with chefs around the world, is this sort of Asian Tex-Mex sort of remix. And actually Tex-Mex in itself is really interesting as a cuisine, because I think for a long time people sort of disregarded it, but in Felicity's book, she really goes into the granularity of the roots of Tex-Mex cuisine in San Antonio. So I'm kind of intrigued to see, because for a long time we had Korean Mexican with Korean burritos and Korean tacos and all this sort of stuff. But I'm really excited to see other Asian Tex-Mex remixes. It's something that I'm predicting.
That one. Actually, we had Andy and Makita Oliver on, and they had just been to San Antonio, and they talked a lot about that.
Yeah,
I think it, and also I think adding it with the barbecue element,
absolutely,
just kind of, I don't know, that's very in at the moment. It has been for a few years now, but I just think it's quite comforting, and it kind of, I don't know, it makes it more exciting almost, because it's fire. Isn't it? Anything with fire,
absolutely.
Because over the years, you must have not only predicted a lot of trends, but also had to kind of live through a lot of trends. Are there any that you just wish had never made it?
I mean, there's trends that kind of came and went in like a flash, and you just think, why did anyone ever do that? So do you remember the butter coffee?
Oh, God, yeah, we've just done a reel on it. Is that the bulletproof coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it back?
I don't think it's back. We had Katie Tunstall on.
Okay.
And she has it for breakfast every day.
Wow.
And she made it for us.
What did you think?
I actually thought it was good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a flat white.
It's not no.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
You're not a fan?
But not personally a fan.
No. And that's fine. It was quite oily.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's quite a big thing in America to put MCT oil.
Yeah, that's
the
what
coconut.
it's so that's what the
from.
bulletproof coffee has in it. But butter coffee is just that, just butter and coffee.
I think for me, what I'm excited about, it's really interesting because when you look at trends, one of the things that you have to think about is, when does something stop becoming a trend and actually become a fundamental societal shift? So if we thought about 5 or 6 years ago, people would have said, well, gut health is a trend. I don't think that gut health is actually a trend anymore. I think it's jumped the gun. Yeah. I think it's something that is now a fundamental societal shift. So for me, what I'm really excited about is the granularity of gut health now. So we're starting to think about things that, people talk about prebiotics and probiotics. The new word is psychbiotics and synbiotics.
And I've heard of
postbiotics. Exactly. So this is kind of what's interesting for me, is you sort of see things that come as trends and the manifestations of the trends, but I love to see the things that kind of withhold their essence, and gut health is one of them. The other one is, plant-based cooking, and I'm really glad that plant-based cooking is absolutely not a trend. It's here to stay, and it's a fundamental societal shift. What I'm excited about, though, is that the move seems to be away from those sort of fabricated, very processed synthetic ingredients, through to just actually genuine, real, proper, non-processed food. And that's why I love seeing the explosion of brands like Bold Bean Co., for example, who are just championing proper plant-based food.
Because it actually tastes like you don't realise that you're not having meat.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you have these synthetic products, I feel like you're not having meat because it doesn't actually have the same texture and it doesn't have the same flavour. And if it does, it's just a bit odd.
I actually saw today on the Good Food Reels the version of Marry Me Beans, which looked delicious. And I'm definitely going to do. And actually that looks more delicious than the Marry Me Chicken.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. You're right. The sort of ones that are flash in the pans, and then the ones that you maybe hang around for a couple of years, and then the ones that keep going forever. And like you say, they're not trends anymore.
No.
They're just...
I mean, one of the ones that I absolutely love is the fact that, we've all got this love of nostalgia and this kind of love of the school dinner elevated. And for me, this year has been about school cake and custard. Everyone's made school cake and custard. What I love is that it seems to now be evolving into the elevation of chocolate Rice Krispies, which marshmallow Rice Krispies and chocolate sort of cornflake tarts and things like that. I love that. And for me, when I think about that, the trend of nostalgia, I think, is just absolutely here to stay. One of the phrases I used actually for my trend report this year was nostalgia, which is about achingly new takes on nostalgic things. So, for example, marshmallow treats are just having this incredible gastronomic glow up, and people are doing like brown butter Biscoff ones, and like I saw one the other day which was like lavender infused marshmallow with like crispy bits and like all this stuff. I was like,
when you say
butter
that,
Biscoff marshmallow treats.
So it's like a melted marshmallow.
It's like a melted marshmallow, but it's just really elevated. And then I saw someone do one which was like super elevated, which was like, had like dehydrated lemon peel and tonka bean and like just super, almost taking a haute patisserie approach to Rice Krispie marshmallow treats, which I just absolutely love. So for me with that, the trend of nostalgia, I think is absolutely here to stay. What I love is that the manifestation of it is evolving from school cake to posh Rice Krispie treats.
You said about tonka beans.
Yeah.
That was a trend that didn't really go anywhere, isn't it?
I think tonka beans is one of those that's still simmering under the kind of... It's still very popular with patisseries. And I think that there will come a point, I think we're probably 3 or 4 years away. If you think about what happened with matcha was kind of under the radar for years and years and years and years, and patisserie chefs were using it, Japanese chefs were using it, and then suddenly something happened and exploded. What's interesting though is actually often I will taste something which will definitely have tonka bean in it, even if it's not necessarily mentioned, because it's a very specific almondy, vanilla-y flavour.
Yeah, it's like a perfume.
It's like a slightly sort of perfume-based kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's one of those that will have its moment.
One day.
I'm holding out for tonka bean just because I love it personally.
And just put it in rhubarb jam.
Rhubarb jam, yeah. That sounds delicious. So one of the things with tonka bean though is that it's not allowed in America because it seemed to be psychogenic.
Is
but
it?
in the same way that nutmeg, if you have too much nutmeg, is also...
And is it apricot kernels?
Yes.
Is it because of the cyanide?
Possibly.
Well, that'll kill you, not just actually. Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you eat a whole tonka bean, you'll have a good time. Is that what you're saying?
I don't really know. I've never done it.
Or a bad time.
Yeah, probably a bad time. I wouldn't do it.
So we're seeing quite a big... Well, I say sustainability's been a buzzword for a while now, but we are seeing more around... I'm thinking of like wild farms, so regenerative farming.
Yeah.
Is that something that we're going to see creep in a bit more?
It absolutely is. Actually, in my report, my number one trend for next year is soil to gut eating. So soil to gut is a really exciting sort of area of gut health, sustainability, and farming kind of all coming together. Yeah. There's an incredible nutritionist called Dr. Lucy Williamson, who's writing a book at the moment called Soil to Gut, which comes out next year. And it's all about the fact that the evolution of the conversation is now thinking about the soil and the plant and what gets onto your plate as one ecosystem. And the whole idea is to sort of make you think about the fact that the way that a carrot is grown, for example, is going to really impact the nutrients that are in that. And all of those nutrients effectively end up on your plate and end up affecting your kind of microbial organisms in a way. And it's interesting because I think for a long time, we've thought about the vegetables and we've thought about, getting fermented foods and we've thought about probiotics and prebiotics, but there's a step before that and it's the actual growing itself. The growing has a major impact on the microbes that get into your gut. And so I love this evolution of the conversation. And I love the fact that soil to gut is going to be a real sort of champion phrase. You heard it here first. Look out for the book. I love the fact that, there are restaurants like Rovi, which is from Ottolenghi. They've just had a big revamp and they are doing a lot of work with Wild Farm, but they also have their own farm, whose name I've totally forgotten, which is their regenerative farm in London that they're working closely with. And they're in dialogue. The chefs and the farm are in dialogue every day. And the menu has this kind of wonderful dynamicness to it, which is completely in tune with what's happening in the land. And it's not just the land, miles and miles away. It's land in London.
That's incredible.
I think it's really exciting. And I think for me, it kind of brings together a lot of different strands that were maybe not talking to each other. So, regenerative agriculture and farming, gut health, sustainability. But this idea of soil to gut, I really like as a framing because it makes you think about it as one system.
And it makes sense, right? Because if there's no nutrients in the ground,
exactly,
how do they get into the gut that then get into your gut? I think it totally makes sense. Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, which is my favourite dish, which I imagine is probably quite hard for you because you are constantly trying new things.
Yes.
So, but I'm going to ask you anyway, do you have a favourite dish?
My favourite dish is a very good, slow cooked, left for a few days and then recooked again lasagna.
Oh, I didn't think that. It's not where I thought that was going.
I just think lasagna is a real labour of love. Like, I think people kind of think, I'm just going to whip up a lasagna. There is no whipping up of lasagna involved.
Unless you use a ready-made sauce.
Exactly, unless you use ready-made sauces. I think that if someone goes to the extreme of making the most delicious, and I mean, a really good ragu.
You're like 24-hour
really
ragu.
reduced down. That's reduced down. That has slow cooked onions and garlic and red wine and tomato puree. And you might amp that up with a little bit of whatever else you might want to kind of put in. And then a really, really good bechamel that has lots of cheese and might actually be made with cream and lots of butter. I think for me, a good lasagna, I love it so much, especially an al forno lasagna.
Is that
that's just when it's kind of cooked under fire or under flames.
Sorry, yes. I don't know why I thought mushroom then for some. I was thinking fungi.
Just a classic, very, very good lasagna. And I think for me, lasagna is like a curry or a chili. It's like, it needs those days for the flavours to meld and to kind of come together and to relax. I love lasagna.
That's really interesting actually, the way you say it. Because you think about a curry as like, if you leave it, the flavour will develop. But I never really think about that with a lasagna.
Oh, absolutely. There's something about any sort of mince or meat-based thing. And I think anything that's kind of... The tomato, if you think about the amount of acidity that's in there, is a real tenderizer. But the longer you kind of leave it, the longer it kind of... You don't want it to get to the point where it's broken down the whole dish to mush. But for me, and also actually, a really good lasagna will have a very coarse mince and might even have bits of sort of very slow cooked shredded meat in there as well, which I just absolutely love. I mean, I haven't made a kind of chef's kiss lasagna for a very long time because it's such a labour of love, but I love doing it and I love it when other people make it because they've really, really, really.
Have you had the deep fried one? Is it Angela Hart?
No, I haven't, but it sounds delicious. I think I've seen it, and there was that trend for like 1,000-layer lasagna for a long time. It's unexpected, but I really love lasagna. It's partly because actually one of the dishes that my mum makes as her kind of party pieces is a keema lasagna.
Ooh,
which is delicious. We have it for like whenever we have kind of family gatherings. It's almost a bit like a sort of keema moussaka with pasta.
So, because keema's usually quite dry.
Keema's usually quite dry, exactly. And also my mum will always add in a layer of aubergines just because she loves them. So it's kind of got this lasagna, keema, sort of moussaka kind of sort of hybrid. But yeah, I love it.
Sounds great.
Totally love it.
Right, we're going to move on to culinary confessions. What is the one dish that you make better than anyone else?
This is unexpected, but because I'm not known for my baking, but I make killer brownies.
Ooh.
I think I'm really good at making brownies.
And do you go for the sort of fudgy or the American ones are slightly less
Mine
fudgy?
are definitely fudgy, not cakey. I've actually got a recipe in my book Flavour Heroes, which is treacle mocha and blonde chocolate brownies. And the thing that I do is I use very good chocolate, not necessarily all dark chocolate. I think that, I love the fact that milk chocolate's having a resurgence. I amplify it with, I always add a bit of treacle. I always add quite a lot of vanilla. I always add a little bit of instant espresso powder, which is, again, another one of my hero ingredients in the book.
Coffee and chocolate.
Which just amplifies it. And for me, the trick with a good brownie is knowing, it's like with a Basque cheesecake, it's knowing when to take them out of the oven and then having the patience to let them cool to room temperature, and then you have to chill them for 24 hours. With me, there's no making brownies and then taking them to a friend's house in the hour. It has to be the day before. Yeah. And for me, it's that secret of getting them to souffle up, but then getting them to very slowly sink back down and then chilling them is the most delicious, dense, almost like biting into a block of butter. Yeah. I think I'm good at brownies.
You mentioned Felicity earlier. I think she said the same. But hers, she goes more for the cakey vibe, which is not my vibe.
It's not my vibe. Although, I don't mind the kind of cakey bits at the edges, but I am definitely a dense, squidgy, fudgy.
And it is when you've had it in the fridge. It's just so much. I actually think chocolate in the fridge in general, to be honest.
Well, actually, Andy Oliver, who I adore, I was in Antigua with her and she insists on chocolate being in the freezer.
Oh, yeah.
It cannot be anywhere else.
Caramel nibbles, if you put those in the fridge, they're just incredible.
Have you ever had frozen after eights?
No.
Oh, it's the best.
Ooh.
It's the best.
We've got some in the test kitchen, like chocolate in the freezer.
Yeah, frozen after eights is the best. And actually, this is a bit obscene, but frozen after eights, then deep fried is delicious in batter.
Wow. Okay, right, well, moving on.
Yes, moving on.
What is your biggest cooking disaster?
I have so many cooking disasters you would not believe. I think sometimes I get a bit overexcited. I'm a bit, as much as I love combining different flavors, there does come a point where it's too much. And I think you have to be very considered when you combine flavors. And I think I've probably had things in my head that I thought were going to work, but it's just throwing too much at the wall. And it's like,
and sometimes it kind of negate each other.
It does,
so exactly. It tastes of nothing.
It tastes of nothing, exactly. And you your palate goes a bit blind and it's like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had some disasters where I've tried to add too many ingredients. I mean, I have countless examples of bicarb instead of baking powder and, cookies going completely wrong. And definitely, I'm one of those people that thinks I have asbestos hands, even though I don't. So I've got a lot of situations where I've been taking something out of the oven, not really doing it properly with gloves as I should be, just using a very flimsy tea towel.
A wet tea
towel.
And
wet, exactly. You think, this is going to definitely protect my fingers. And then whatever you're cooking just goes all over the oven inside of the door. No. So many examples of that.
Well, have you ever served something ready-made and pretended you made it yourself?
Oh my God, all the time.
Do you?
All the time. What I like to do is I'll do a Gurd zhuzh. So there's an element of Gurd.
Okay.
But I have a sort of don't ask, don't tell. If someone asked, I would absolutely confess. But if they don't ask, I'll always do a bit of a Gurd drizzle. It might be a Gurd drizzle, or it might be a bit of a crispy bit, or it might be that it's kind of paired with things. But for me, for example, if I've got friends kind of come around, things like antipasti and like things like that. Yeah. And, just like little fiddly things. Like, I just love a little kind of puff pastry filled with something delicious, whether it's, a kind of lovely sausage roll type thing or kind of like a lovely sort of prawn filled something, whatever it is. I'm just not going to go to the faff of making those, but I'm really a vol au vent. I love a vol au vent. They're having a real moment actually. But if it is shot, but I'll add a zhuzh. But sometimes you just don't have the energy.
If you could change one thing about the way we grow, buy, cook, or eat food in this country, what would it be?
For me, it would be about demystifying labeling.
Okay.
And I think that one of the problems that we have is that so many brands intentionally confuse their consumers because they want to get away with doing things that they don't want the consumers to know, whether that's about the amount of fat, salt, sugar, whatever it might be.
Like chocolate flavor.
Chocolate flavouring, exactly. There's so much jargon on our labelling, whether it's the word flavouring, whether it's the traffic light system. I just would want there to be this absolute transparency. And, maybe it's something that kids get educated about at school, but a standardized system that's really clear, that's really, and also that's not possible to kind of get around. I think we've definitely made a lot of progress, but I think for me, I sometimes go down the aisles of a supermarket and I just think these products are so misleading. And I think it just negates people making considered decisions.
And if you want to make a considered decision, you've got to spend ages reading the packaging. So it'll take you hours to do your weekly shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your personality was a flavour of ice cream, what would it be and why?
It would be something sweet and salty and crunchy and a bit chocolatey. It's one of the recipes in the book, but it's I absolutely love. Have you ever had a brown toast ice cream?
Yes.
I would be a brown toast ice cream.
Interesting.
It's really, really delicious. So brown toast ice cream is actually something that comes from Ireland. It's very popular there. And effectively what you do is you make almost like cinnamon brown toast crunch crumbs.
Yeah.
And then you ripple that through a kind of ice cream. It's very me because it's sort of unexpected, but it's also sort of old school. Comforting, old school, unexpected. And then you definitely have kind of like some sort of crackling peanutty bits on top. I also love chocolate, so I'd probably have a bit of a chocolate drizzle on top of that. But yeah, a brown toast ice cream I think is very
lovely. And right, you're opening a themed restaurant based on your life.
Oh gosh.
What is it called and what is your signature dish?
Called More is More, definitely, because that's definitely my approach to flavour. My signature dish, it would be something that is sort of an intercultural remix of different things. One of my most popular recipes is my miso masala fried chicken sandwich, which is basically a very over-the-top sort of piece of fried chicken which has a miso and garam masala and amchur. Do you know what amchur is?
Yeah, why have I heard?
It's dried mango powder.
Yeah,
it's lovely and zingy. So I marinate the chicken in this miso, garam masala, and amchur kind of marinade for a long time, and a bit of buttermilk as well. And then that's fried with this very delicious coating, which has got both tapioca flour and rice flour, and baking powder and normal plain flour, and it just has this wonderful magical alchemy in a delicious brioche bun. I think that would be. It would basically be a fried chicken sandwich shop called More is More. Yeah.
Is there a food you always eat on your birthday?
Samosas.
Oh.
Yeah, samosas. It's a very Punjabi thing. Samosas and chaat and all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
Samosas is kind of the beating soul of every celebration we have, whether that's an anniversary or a birthday, whatever it is. So yeah, samosas, but there has to be tamarind chutney with them.
Okay.
It's very specific. It has to be samosa and tamarind chutney.
I thought you were going to say there has to be a birthday candle.
There has to be a birthday candle on top of the samosa. Actually, a tower of samosas, a birthday cake, would be perfect.
Do you have a food guilty pleasure?
I don't believe in guilt with food. I think that everyone should always eat whatever they think.
We do say no shame.
We say no shame.
Yeah.
I'm a crisp fiend. I love crisp.
What's your favourite flavour?
Prawn cocktail.
Good choice.
A prawn cocktail, a very thick, ridged crisp. That's prawn cocktail flavour. There's the McCoys do their sizzling prawn cocktail, and that is my kind of crisp.
Sounds good. Fabulous. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to quick fire questions.
Sure.
I'm going to start the timer.
Okay.
And then when you've finished, you're going to stop the timer.
Right.
And
okay.
It's quite simple, although I do struggle to use it.
Who am I racing against?
Whoever comes on next. Because actually, so you're the last one of the year. This is the very last episode of 2025.
Gosh.
So I guess you're racing against yourself, really.
Oh, right, okay.
Best kitchen tip you've ever been given?
Always infuse your saffron in a tablespoon of vodka because it brings out the most flavour.
If you could only eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Mexican.
What ingredient is the biggest waste of money?
Dried herbs.
Worst thing you've ever eaten?
Jellyfish taco.
Your signature can't be bothered meal?
Pasta and pesto.
Favourite midnight snack?
Crisp sandwich.
What food should have its own national holiday?
Chocolate.
What's your go-to hangover food?
A bacon sandwich with tamarind chutney.
What food did you hate as a kid but now love?
Parsley.
If you could invent a new crisp flavour, what would it be?
It would be a double prawn cocktail with double the prawn cocktail flavouring in it.
Name a fictional character you'd love to have dinner with.
Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice.
Starter, main or dessert?
Main.
Let's have a look. What have we got?
I waffled.
1 minute exactly.
Is that good?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not bad.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm saying that because I can't remember anyone
Fine,
else's
fair
time.
enough.
But I will start writing.
I'll take a minute. Sure, why not?
And our final question for today, which is not quickfire, but also the term and not the brand, which is, what does good food mean to you?
Yes. Good food to me means honest, real ingredients cooked with heart, soul, and storytelling. I think that for me is what food is all about. And for me, the food that I think about when I think about good food, and the food that I felt most good eating and the most kind of emotional feeling of joy that comes from it, is food that's just really cooked from the soul and the heart, and actually that tells a story. And it could be the simplest thing, it could be tomatoes on toast. It could be, just a plate of anchovies and vinegar. It could be a very simple dal. It could be an avocado taco. For me, if it's good food cooked with kind of soul and heart and this sense of storytelling and this sense of, this is what this means to me and it's from me to you, that for me is good food.
Lovely. Thank you. That's very, very nice answer.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, have you got a New Year's resolution?
I haven't even thought about it.
There's only one day to go.
That is not quite yet. I'm going to think about it. I think there are certain travel places I'd really like to go to, and I'm going to commit to saving those pennies to make sure I get them.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Good Food Podcast. For more recipes and inspiration, visit goodfood.com or download our app. Subscribers to the Good Food app via the App Store can listen to our podcast ad-free.